What up, it's your buddy Incredible Man, and yes, I'm back at it again, and this is 911 Season 5, Episode 4, Home and Away. And to be fair, nobody likes Claudette. Let's talk about it, man.
Yo, fight until you make it, yo, don't think it, no, just take it. Don't wait for someone to break it, take control, then don't just take it, hey. You can make it happen, you just gotta take some action. Take the ship and be the captain.
This episode was a little bit different for me. It was good, but it wasn't really great. I mean, I know every episode can't be an absolute banger and just come hardcore and just be awesome and amazing all at the same time like the previous 3 episodes. I know every episode can't be like that. And I know you have to have these heartfelt moment episodes, you know, kind of really just tie everything together. And that's what this episode was. They gave us some extra stuff, but they gave us the heartfelt moments that we kind of love from 911, if you will. Like I said, it wasn't a bad episode. It just was, I guess, we've had so much action nonstop in these past 3 episodes. This one slowed down the pace a little bit, and you know, and that kind of just pulled everything apart. But it still tied everything together and kind of included everything else in the prior couple episodes into this episode as well. Now, before I actually talk about all our main characters and everything, let's talk about that particular case that took place this episode with the dude in the truck just rampaging through this parade, man, because oh my gosh. When that took place, did not expect it to go the way that it happened. I honestly thought with the little old lady, when she was having time shutting her door, and she ran all over the curb trying to leave her driveway, I just knew that this grandma was going to come down the boulevard and just run over some people like speed bumps. I thought it was going to be her. I'm kind of glad that they didn't make it happen that way, but I honestly thought it was going to be her for a moment. But when the dude decided to, you know, swerve behind her a couple of times trying to pass her, I was like, okay, it's going to be him. He's going to be the one that's going to come crashing through the parade. And boom, bam, he did come crashing through the parade. But what made it weird is because, well, not so much as weird, but so much as, you know, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it happened, is because everybody else getting hit. Sure, that was tragic and everything, but those 2 girls, like, you know, they introduced them. We got the little backstories about the one where her parents didn't come see her and stuff. And then right there in the moment when they knew that they were going to get hit, they didn't dodge. They didn't jump down in the backseat of the car or anything like that. They just looked at each other and grasped hands, and then you like just see them get ragdoll across the screen. And oh my gosh, man. The one girl, you saw the one girl, like she was laid all up on side of the curb and like her arm was, like they messed her up, man. And I just felt so bad for those poor little girls, man. But what I wanted to talk about after that whole moment was the particular point where Hen and Eddie got the girls' names mixed up. Now, to be fair, it wasn't Hen's fault. The girl, the Cassie chick that they went to check on, when they asked her name, I'm assuming she kind of got mixed matched, because when they asked her name, she was like, she didn't say where's Michaela. She was just like Michaela, so it kind of just came out like that. You know, she probably couldn't word it how she wanted to, but she was worried about Michaela. And I get that. Generally, I get that, you know, in a situation like that, you're more concerned about your friend because you seem to be fine. You know, she had a bunch of injuries as well, but you know, she could respond at that moment. So genuinely, she was worried about her friend. And Hen and Eddie kind of took that and ran with it. And when they get to when the parents get there on the scene, they were like, oh, well, your daughter's fine. What's your daughter's name? Michaela? Okay, well, she's fine. And then the entire episode we spend with these people thinking that their daughter's fine. And when the other girl's parents come and the whole scene kind of got mixed up, they was like, that's not our daughter. And in that moment, Eddie knew that like the whole thing had kind of got switched up. Now, the only thing, I got to give props to Hen for stepping up to tell the parents. And I honestly thought the parents would have been a little bit more upset because, you know, I know that their daughter's not alive anymore, but the fact that they thought that that was their daughter and Hen is one of the people that told them that, I thought they would have been more upset, but they were, you know, they were just more heartbroken and devastated than anything. But I don't honestly think I could have been the one to tell them. I think I would have definitely had to let the doctor do that. To be fair, you know, huge props to Hen for coming out and saying it herself, but I think I would have had to definitely let the doctor do that part. That's just me genuinely speaking, because it was such a heartbreaking moment anyway, and then to just be wrapped up in that whole part, I think I would have had to let the doctor do it. Let's talk about Buck and Chimney, because Buck and Chimney we know that they have a great relationship and bond with each other, and then especially since they're basically brother-in-laws. But I feel for Chim this episode, man. We see Chim is really going through the mill with this whole Maddie situation. We see him chasing down the doctor because he found the bill that she went to the hospital, and he's freaking out. He's trying to find out what's going on, and he now understands why Maddie feel like she can't, take care of Ji-yoon because, she wasn't even underwater that long. I think I could say it was maybe a second, but anything. Maybe a millisecond, if anything. She wasn't under the water that long. And in that whole moment, Chim is trying to rationalize why Maddie's leaving, trying to understand. He's bringing up old news about all the stuff with Doug and everything. His mind is snapping. And Buck is still trying to calm him down. But little beknownst to us, later in the episode, we see that Buck has already talked to Maddie. They've had a whole conversation. Now, of course, he doesn't know where she is. But he has had that conversation with her, and Chim hasn't been able to talk with her, and he's been wrapping his mind around what she's going through. He know that he made a mistake, working a long shift because of the whole blackout, but there was nothing that he could actually do. He tried to contact her, the phone lines was down. He was so worried because she was there by herself, and sure, they've been talking a little bit, but the whole postpartum thing has had their relationship a little rocky because Chim is trying to understand, but he can't at the same time. And he's not pressuring Maddie. He's trying to give her a space. And maybe that's also backfiring as well. And also within this episode, we see that Eddie's talking to Buck after Chim decked him when he told him that he talked to Maddie because Buck wasn't surprised when Chim told him that Ji-yoon almost drowned. Now, with that entire situation about Buck being hit by Chim, I feel like it was well deserved. Because in this particular moment, if you had contact with Maddie, you should have definitely related to Chim. Whether you told him after you talked to her and you didn't let him talk to her, something along the sort, you should have mentioned it instead of having to let him actually just genuinely find out. Granted, I know it's your sister. You want to protect her. You want to be there for her. And like Eddie said this episode, you see your sister in a different light. You see her as the strong, confident person that got over her abusive ex and done all this other stuff. You see her in that light, and that's cool. That's fine. But Chim has had that connection with her on a different level, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Like they got a child together. They're in a relationship. They both been through some stuff. So they have a deeper connection as well. So Chim can look at this from a different light than Buck can, and that kind of just misconstrued things. And Buck thought that he was helping. And in actuality, he just made a tense situation just a little bit worse. Now, the only thing I say about Chim leaving, going to search for Maddie, good on him. But I feel like, in all actuality, I feel like this is something to get his character off screen because the actual actor may have other obligations. He may be acting in a movie or doing something else similar because, like you guys told me, Maddie being pregnant in real life, that's going to take her off screen. So both of them, that allows both of them to kind of be off screen and they can kind of just write their characters off to the side. And then when they come back, they can come back. Now, all of that's the case though, but let's talk about May. Because May is in a predicament this episode with Claudette. I don't know about y'all, but I ain't feeling Claudette. First of all, she came in here snapping and taking May's coffee. I ain't feeling Claudette at all. Now, sure, May, oh, this is going to be weird. May Grant may have made a mistake this episode talking to that woman about the whole chlorine incident and everything. I get that. But it's one of those things that it's a minor slip up. I mean, May has had barely any slip ups than her whole tenure as being a 911 dispatcher, her whole year. So, like, she's fine. Leave this chick alone. And I feel like she's after, well, not so much as after, but she has a grudge against May or something. I honestly don't know. There was no hints or anything as to why she was actually doing it. Maybe she's just doing it just to do it, because I honestly don't know. Josh tried to give her the benefit of the doubt, but I honestly don't see no rhyme or reason behind her whole tactics as to going after May. The only logical explanation I could think of is, you guys remember the chick that almost made May commit suicide in OD? Maybe Claudette is related to her, or she has a grudge against Athena or something, or maybe Bobby or something. I don't know. It has to do with something like that, and she's looking at May as her, the reason to vent her frustration out on. That's the only logical explanation I can think of. The huge props to May for standing her ground a little bit and going to check on Harry this episode, because we see that Harry is going to therapy to try to get over his whole situation that he was involved with, and we see that Harry's in therapy trying to get over his whole situation that he was involved in with Jeffrey. But Harry's mad. He's like super pissed at both of his parents, honestly. His dad for not being able to notice that he was being walked out of their house with a kidnapper, and his mom for bringing him into their life. And May told him something very, very valid this episode. If you're angry, be angry. Don't hold all that in and trying to please mom and dad. Don't do that. Let them know that you're angry. Athena feels some type of way because we see that she goes home tonight and she doesn't feel very safe in her own home. So how can she convince Harry? Because we see her this entire episode, she started cleaning down her whole house because she saw the picture frame that Jeffrey touched. Now, the only thing with that is, I've seen a lot of shows and stuff. After a lot of home invasions, a lot of people don't really feel safe in their house anymore. You kind of got to reclaim that back. And I feel like that's going to be something for Athena to deal with in the next upcoming episodes, because she kind of lost that power, if you will, and for her to reclaim that back, because she doesn't want to give up on this house, because that's where her kids were raised. That's where they took their first steps, their first walks, like a bunch of stuff, man, like their first words and all this other stuff. She doesn't want to give up on that, so she's definitely going to have to fight for it. And I feel like her fighting for it may be able to allow Harry to fight for it as well. And then we're going to talk about Hen at the end, because Hen was a little bit broken this episode after doing all that stuff to those telling those parents about their daughter and stuff. So I feel like Hen has a little ball wrapped up inside her, if you will, because now I don't know how she's going to handle this traumatic experience, because we see at the end of the episode when she was talking to Chim, she's a little bit devastated about that whole ordeal. Now, I don't know, it could be something minor, but I'm thinking it may come back into play throughout this entire season of that particular moment, because I don't know what they're going to do, because I know she can't really focus on work and being a doctor at the same time. Hopefully they dive back into that too, because I feel like they just abandoned her being a doctor. Hopefully they'll dive back into it. Because I know things have been rampant ever since we started this season. So we'll see if they bring that back up, because I'm assuming they just forgot that she was trying to be a doctor at the same time. I don't want her to leave I don't want her to stop being a paramedic, but if she wants to become a doctor and that's her goal, let her do her thing. Overall, like I said, it wasn't a great episode, but it was a good episode. It touched on a lot of points that needed to be touched on, and we got a little bit informative about certain things as well. So I can't wait to see next week's episode, man. This is your boy Dick Incredible. Don't forget to smash the like button until you can't smash it anymore. Comment down below, and I'll be sure to respond to each and every one of them and subscribe, but only if you really want to, man. Peace out.
I cannot complain, because today, I'm doing my